Greetings, fellow programs. Might be the first upload I've done in a while. Well, what's this rambling all about? Well, in this video, I'm just going to tell you that I blew £20 on 30 broken PlayStation controllers. I think they're all mostly PlayStation 2 gamepads, but there's a few PlayStation 1 style controllers, as we can see here. First one we're going to look at is a logic-free speed pad. It's got missing button membranes and it's got a broken cable. It's got quite a nice feeling directional pad though. I think it feels nicer than the official PlayStation controllers. Yeah, so that's one of the many PlayStation controllers that we're going to be looking at. There's about 30 of them for £20. I noticed there was a few in there that were a bit on the unusual side. I suppose I could either fix these up and resell them, or could just use them as components for modification projects and the likes. Well, this one's ergonomically quite interesting. It's got a McLaren endorsement. Scream, not sure what that brand is, but McLaren is Formula 1. That's right, Formula 1. So here we have twin analog sticks, square buttons stuck. These are the lower shoulder keys also stuck. Upper keys are okay. Ergonomically, a bit of an interesting directional pad. Yeah, so ED Games Limited, made in the People's Republic of China. Cable looks alright. Okay, next up we have a wireless Saber controller for PlayStation 2. Again, most of these third-party controllers have nicer directional pads than the official PlayStation 2 controllers. I was never really a fan of Sony's directional pad. I think if I want precise controls, I'd actually use a joystick, like a Namco Arcade Power Stick. But if I want free-flowing directionals for fighting games, I'll have a rotating 8-way Sega style pad any day. Anyway, so this is a wireless controller. Looks like it takes about 4 AA batteries, 3 or 4 AA batteries on and off switch. Copyright over 2006. Anyway, so this Saber also requires a wireless receiver, which we have here. So you plug that into the controller port of your choice. Presumably there's some sort of button for syncing things up. I don't know if you can use 2 of these simultaneously, because we do in fact have a second one of these Saber controllers. However, I don't have a second IR receiver, so there's only one receiver, and I presume that only one controller can be synced to it. Otherwise you'd have 2 controllers in one port. So yeah, we've got 2 of these controllers, but only one receiver. For the most part, they're not too bad looking. This one's got a lot of wear on the face buttons. So yeah, that's the IR receiver. You've got these little rubberized grips on the sides, which, if they're not completely rotten, not too bad to have. As I say, so as far as the cross pads go, this is one of the better feeling cross pads, given I'm someone who's not generally a fan of cross pads. The face buttons are a bit interesting because they've got they feel slightly more domed than the official Sony controllers. The plastics are not too flimsy. I wouldn't say this is something that you would normally snap in half. I've certainly felt worse, some of which are actually in this box. I wouldn't say they're built of iron, but they're not bad. Next up we have loads of these. They tend to be either Argos or Gameware. They have a nice floating 8-way control pad. We can see that the plastic is smashed on this one, so then this is going to be more like parts, or possibly can be put in another shelf. But yeah, I've got ideas on what I want to do with this. We've got several of these on the box. These were sold under loads of different brands, but I'm not quite sure what the original manufacturer was. I have a boxed one, which is from Gameware. It's from the game shop, which was formerly known as Electronics Boutique. Yeah. Okay, next one. This one's interesting. It's a competition probe. I'm not sure if it's PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1. Ergonomically, it's a strange feeling controller. Everything feels quite compacted and narrow. Even the face buttons are like very closely pushed together. I like the Gravis gamepad or Super Nintendo style colour scheme. We have a nice floating 8-way gamepad, which is not really edgy, so it doesn't stick in your thumb after extended play. It's got a nice feel to it, but I assume that the circuitry doesn't work correctly, or maybe the turbo functions are gone haywire. I'm not sure. Ergonomically, it's a strange controller. I think I like it. I think the grips are a little bit longer than the officials, which is nice. Well, I say that the analog sticks are actually much further apart, and yet the buttons are all closer together. It's a strange design for a PlayStation controller. Very strange ergonomics. I think these also were sold in grey or possibly light beige for the PlayStation 1 Slim. Yeah, I think I like it. It's a bit of a mysterious one. This one, sadly, has a lot of this rubberized grip, which is all rotting away quite spectacularly, as you can see here. Which is a shame, because this Blaze controller, this is a Blaze. It has a micro switch directional pad, which in theory would mean that it would actually be really nice for fighting games. However, the face buttons are not micro switched. Ergonomically, it feels very nice. In some ways, it reminds me very much of the Satec P750, which was an excellent controller for the PC. But that micro switched pad, wow. I mean, these things are all quite subjective to taste, but there's no denying that this was a quality, this was a premium quality controller in its day. Not the usual Blaze tax. Blaze controllers have a tendency to be quite tacky for the most part, but this one isn't. Too bad about that rubberized coating though. Anyway, next up we've got another Logic 3 speed pad, similar to the one that we looked at earlier. But this one's in a really nice luminescent lime green colour. Again, another one of those that have a broken wire port. But this one comes in a very funky colour scheme. So Logic 3 speed pad. I see these all the time on eBay in lots of different colours. I'd like to think they're actually just collectible just for the colour schemes alone. Like I said again, nice directional pad. The membranes feel quite snappy on this, so that's a nice set of key membranes. Depending on how they fit, they might be suitable for use in other controllers, like for repairing SNES or Mega Drive or PC pads or whatever, really. Right, okay, here's another one of those Saber controllers, but this one's actually wired rather than wireless. And this one feels very rugged. The plastic feels really tough. It's like it feels like high impact ABS, similar to what was used on the Competition Pro 5000 joysticks. The Atari Commodore systems back in those days. Difficult to get this free camera and focus. Yeah, I think it says something like Saber, copyright 2006. Anyway, we've got this kind of matte feel. It feels like high impact ABS. So whatever's wrong with this, it's going to be some sort of circuitry or maybe auto fire issue. Face buttons are kind of worn. But it's actually, as I say, it's a Saber. We saw the wireless versions, but those rubberized grips are gone. And the plastic feels really tough here, which is, I can't really say that for the wireless ones. I mean, that matte feel's no longer there, and the plastic doesn't feel like high impact ABS. It just feels more like generic ABS. This has a high impact feel, so I can't snap it off, which is something I could say that I actually could do with some of the nastier controllers that we're about to find in here. Speaking of which, this may have a very cool looking colour. It's neon green. I mean the speed pad is like lemon, like yellow green, but this is just pure green. It looks like it could glow in the dark, but unfortunately this is a really lightweight plastic. And that's that. Interestingly though, although the shell is like the worst plastic, it's let's put it like this, I think I felt a nicer feeling plastic in Poundland. It's like the worst plastic. I can hear that creaking, so I could quite possibly break that in half just like that. I don't, honestly, disclaimer here, I don't deliberately go around snapping controllers in half. I just do this slight testing to give you an idea on just how much of a quality there is when I review these sort of things. I actually think that the membranes feel nice enough. The shell's really bad, but the actual circuitry is interesting. Although I thought this was actually a fairly modern controller, most of the actual components are actually not surface mounted. So this could actually make for a nice modifications project. You can see it's actually not surface mounted, so yeah, this is very promising. I think this is very promising. Yeah, this could be an interesting thing for like modifications and things like that. Yeah, very interesting. As you can see, this was built sometime during the PlayStation 2 era, as the plug has sharp corners as opposed to the rounded ones found during the PlayStation 1 era. But yeah, too bad. It's a nice colour, but the plastic, the feel of that plastic was like very cheap toy plastic, and the damage shows. Next up is Full Gamers. Now I think we've got two of these in the box. First we have a Sega Saturn style 8-way that looks almost exactly like that on the Sega Saturn Mark II controller, or the Japanese Mark I if you prefer. And we have, yeah, so it's by Full Gamers, which if I remember rightly, they were Argos specialty. I think most of the Full Gamers stuff could be bought in Argos in the day. I do have a Full Gamers ballistic light gun, and it's a very good light gun. It's heavy, but it's accurate. I'd actually say it's a bit more accurate than my Logic 3 Predator Tube light gun. Yeah, I like their light guns, but only time will tell as to what we can do with this. Likewise, we can see that the cable is very broken. Very, very broken. And we have a bit more of an abstract take on the symbol on the face buttons. Okay, this one, controller, plastic's very creaky, not the best, not the worst still, but I don't like the feel of that plastic at all. This one is actually, it's got twin dongles, so it can be used on the PlayStation 2, but also on the PC. It's got USB, so you don't need one of those PlayStation to USB adapters. Now, in theory, that would feel like a very nice idea, hence why we have numbered buttons as opposed to the copyright or trademarked symbols of the PlayStation controller. Of course, though, it appears that it doesn't work, because I don't see no physical damage, so there's probably some sort of electronic problem with this one. Anyway, we've got E and a trademark. Actually, I think this is Electronics Boutique. I'd like to think it's Electronics Boutique, which would probably mean it's an import, because in England, most of the Electronics Boutiques were bought out by Game in, was it 1995? Yeah, so it's probably for the US market. Here we go, we've got another one of these 4Gamers controllers, and it's exactly the same as the last one. Sega Saturn style 8-way directionals, broken wire. Face buttons feel fairly okay. It's not a bad feeling controller. I think the grips are a bit longer, so there's a bit more like the original dual analog controller with the concaved sticks. Yeah, as I say, it's exactly like the previous one that we looked at. Okay, so another one of these generic ones that we looked at earlier. If you remember this one with the missing faceplate and the totally smashed top. This one isn't smashed up, so I presume the circuitry's bad in this. So we could probably just swap the guts between the two and get one working and looking aesthetically quite good. Again, we have quite a nice D-pad. Personally, I quite like these type of directional pads. That suits my taste very well. Okay, so I get the feeling that circuitry won't work in this, but it could be a good shell replacement for the other one if that actually worked. Okay, coming up we have not a logic-free speed pad, but some sort of logic-free dual analog controller. They have the nice coloured face buttons. The exact same directional pad as the speed pad. You have a nice pair of analog joysticks. Now the thing is that when you dive into the world of third-party controllers for the PlayStation 1 in particular, sometimes you can find that they have a lot of interesting analog modes. Sometimes you've got modes that allow the sticks to emulate earlier controllers like the Negicon or the Mad Catz analog racing wheels. So, yeah, something to look out for. Sometimes they have several different analog modes that you won't get on the official controllers. Here we go, so another one of these generic. I think I've got about 4 or 5 of these in here. As I say, usually they were bought from Argos or Gameware. There you go. I get the feeling this one might have been bought out of Argos. We've got a clear button at the back, which I presume is used to reset your turbo programming. Nasty feeling sticks. I can hear the springs rubbing in between those potentiometers. Yeah, okay. Nasty feeling sticks. Okay, this is probably one of the worst ones in here. We've finally gone to the point where we've just found one of the worst ones in terms of quality. Now, surprisingly, the shell is not smashed up, which is a wonder, because if you can hear that creaking, I can tell you that the seams, the two halves are actually rubbing against each other. So, you know, the whole thing barely fits together. It's very lightweight, so I think there's probably no vibration motors because it feels far too light. I don't think it's just the plastic that's really lightweight. Honestly, there's like virtually no weight to this whatsoever compared to every other controller that we've picked up so far. I think there might be 2 of these in here. Yeah, so you've got a very thin tacky shell, almost no weight to it. Hopefully the membranes are actually alright. We might have decent circuitry, but given that it's not smashed up, I'm guessing that it's currently not working. Yeah, I think I've got 1 or 2 of these in the box. Here you go, we've got another one of these. Like I said, I've got about 4 or 5 of these, which are either gameware or Argos special. Yeah, we've got that A-go. Screws are rusty. I've got a clear button. Lovely directional pad. Yeah. But this one's got a loose stick. And the grips are completely gone. Yeah, we might be able to assemble something a bit better from all that. Okay, here's an earlier version of that design. You can see it's got the exact same shape, but it uses the colour scheme of the PS1. It has the Titan Concepts branding, which if we have a look on the back, Titan Concepts was actually a registered trademark at one point. It's called a Shotpad 1. Sorry, don't need to hit the camera like that. Got a reset button here. You can see that the buttons were printed rather than injection moulded because the X is completely worn away. Yeah, very interesting. And another one of those again. I keep saying to myself that I've got about 4 or 5 of them in there. Again, it's ditto. We don't have the Argo nameplate though. We have a clear button. We've just got a generic number there. Probably was still sold in Argos, so. And yeah, another one of a similar design. Well, actually, I think this is. Yep, this one's of a similar design, but this one's actually got the official endorsement of the 2002 FIFA World Cup, Korea, Japan. And in spite of all that, if we have a look on the back, it's actually manufactured under license for Thrustmaster. Well, no, actually by Thrustmaster. So it's called an analog duo pad. So yeah, this one's got the endorsement for the 2002 World Cup. That's kind of collectible. It's kind of collectible in its own right. I mean, I'm not a soccer fan. Although I live in the United Kingdom, I do feel that a lot of the British people are perhaps a little bit too obsessed with soccer. Never mind though. And now we have another one of these controllers, but this one's in silver. And it has a sleek feel. The plastic has a different feel here. It doesn't feel so matte. They've actually shined it up. It's got a polished feel. It's really smooth. It just slips into your hand. And probably slips out of your hand as well, but again, broken cable. Could possibly swap out one of the others. Again, we've got the clear button at the back. Quite like how sleek this feels. Yeah, it probably does remind me of someone who thinks about spacemen or something. Yeah. Okay, this one's quite strange. Don't ask me what happened to that. I think it might be battery acid, but some of the last few we have will look kind of disturbing. Anyway, this is a Tizen, but this is actually a conjoined Siamese twin of sorts, because both of these controllers are actually attached to just one USB plug. So the idea of this was you instantly had two-player action in just a single USB port. Yeah, these are actually for PC. I don't know how they ended up in here, but they're for PC, not PlayStation. I think I might try and get these fixed up, and anyway, so it's called Electronic Game Tizen. Got a website on the back. Yeah, we've got the Tizen brand on the splitter dongle. Like I said, it's two controllers attached to one port. So these are conjoined Siamese game controllers. Okay, we've got another wired saber. For some reason though, this one feels like it's probably been opened or something, because it doesn't feel as robust as the last wired saber controller we looked at. I think the plastic feels like the high impact ABS, but I think it's been opened or something because it's creaking at the seams. Yeah, so that's another saber. And next up we've got another Logic 3 analog pad, which I believe is identical to the previous Logic 3 gamepad that we looked at. Is it identical? Trying to find what I did with that. Yep. Well, I say it's basically identical, but the buttons are actually different. Face buttons are actually a bit different, but they look quite similar for the most part. Either that they've been swapped. Okay, so this one says PS2 gamepad, and the other one just says VR12 analog pad. Okay, so this one is probably for PlayStation 1, and the other is for PlayStation 2. So of course the analog features that you'd expect of a DualShock 2 should be present on this. What's up? Oh, another wide saber controller. We must have about 3 of these in here. Again, we have that high impact ABS feel, which is good. So basically, given that few of these actually have broken wires or anything, you get the feeling that they put a lot of their funds in making it a great feeling shell, but not a lot of investment into like robust and durable, lifelong working electronics. Sad day. Let's see what we can do about that. Right, we're getting down to the last 3 now. Speaking of which, we've got another one of these nasty feeling, super cheap, lightweight controllers. They're so light, I'd probably say there's like no vibration motor in them. Well, there might be, but it sure doesn't feel like it. This one doesn't seem to be creaking as badly as the other one, but it's still very light, and the plastic has got a very cheap feel to it. Nothing like a Microsoft Sidewinder, nor both sides to the imagination. Yep, very light, very cheap, but slightly better construction than the last one. The analog sticks feel really stiff. So stiff. Although, maybe it's because it was never used. I don't know. Very, very stiff feeling analog sticks. And we've got a third one of those lightweight nasties. Only this one is actually showing its true colours, because it's like someone must have pressed on it and stuck their thumb through and probably had a bleeding thumb. Yeah, I think that is battery acid, as terrible as that looks. That looks completely terrible. Yep, this appears to be broken too. Well, no, splitting apart actually. Gives us an idea that I think even the circuitry looks kind of cheap and nasty. I have my reservations as to what can be done with these. Maybe the membranes. The analog sticks feel a bit looser on this compared to the last one, so someone attempted to use this and didn't get too far with it. Yeah, I suppose maybe it's just the wires and maybe the membranes. Right, last but not least, this one's definitely worth getting back together. I'd certainly like to fix this up. Firstly, it's quite interesting how the cable end actually feels very much like an official Sony controller. Even the RFI filter feels as if it could have been made by Sony. This is a Game Boy controller. The shop that bought out Electronics Boutique in the United Kingdom. Well, you can see how this differs quite a lot from the official PlayStation controllers, in which the crosspad has been replaced by one of those 8-way floating point control pads, but the diamond layout face buttons have been replaced with a Sega Saturn style 6-button layout. I think that's really nice. You could use this on a PlayStation 2 and play stuff like Sonic Collection Plus or Mega Drive Collection. All those games would feel much nicer with this. 32X Thursdays, if you're going to play 32X games on your PlayStation 2, this would be a good controller for 32X games, as you've now got an appropriate layout for such. And we've got start and select buttons here. Yeah, the R1 button is stuck, but if I fix this, I'm definitely keeping it. I ain't selling that. I'm definitely keeping it. And that's it, really. After that, you got a pair of Kodak Extra Life AAA batteries at the bottom. And that's it. I've put a risky £20 stake into either repairing these and reselling most of them. Of course, I'm not reselling that one. Or possibly modifying them, using them as components to fix other controllers across several platforms. So, and that's the end of the video. Okay, take care, keep rocking on, your fellow souls, and we'll see you again in another video. Right, take care.